everyone. Thank you for joining us. We have another Joffy author who's come to chat with us about their writing. Thank you so much, Paul Bennett. Welcome to the channel. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our readers.
Okay, it's a very convoluted story, but hang in there with me. So I'm retired now and have been for many years. Ignore me, keep skipping over like this. I have MS and have typed my last 3 books left-handed. So a major achievement. Nothing stops me writing.
Definitely.
My background is I studied economics at Exeter, and on graduating, I was able to get a job there in Exeter as assistant to a finance director. And while I was there, I was only there about 18 months, but while I was there were 3 frauds committed. And at that stage, I became fascinated with fraud and did a lot of research into it. And as you'll see, there are other frauds that came up during my working life. I spent a couple of years down in Exeter in finance and then moved into marketing for a couple of years and then went to an ad agency. And I was there as a planner, the person on the account who represents the consumer and sets the strategy. And latterly, I was an account director with such accounts as Pernod and Biscuit Cognac, and more relevant, Mary Quant, Outdoor Girl Cosmetics, and Lovable Bras. So all this was great background, as you'll hear later.
Yeah.
So after 7 years in advertising, I left to start a market research company. And initially, that was just me and a PA who did virtually everything to keep the office running. And we built that up over 5 years to a turnover of 3 million. And I then sold it to a marketing company and worked for a further 5 years under contract to them. And when I had the money from the takeover, that gave me the time to start writing. So I started my writing career with Due Diligence, which was about frauds and about this new character called Shannon.
Yeah.
And sorry, I could go back here. Oh yeah, so I wrote Due Diligence and 3 other books in the Shannon series, and we're going back 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
Now. And then I was lured back into marketing, supposedly for just 2 months as a consultant to a major high street bank. And those 2 months turned out to be about 5 years.
Oh my God.
And so
you got the taste of marketing again. You couldn't let go.
Yeah. And so that took me away from writing for a while. Then when that contract was finally over, I was having a conversation with my elder daughter, Victoria, who'd always liked the Shannon books. And she said to me, I think the Shannon books need to have one more book to wrap up the series. So I said to her, okay, then we'll write it together. And that's what we did, and that became Blue on Blue,
Yeah.
set in the police force. And then from there, I wrote Shannon's Law, Shannon's Gamble, Shannon's Rebirth, and now Shannon's Trial.
Yes.
And after, and almost consecutive with that, I started a new series about a group of aging mercenaries, one who has put on some weight, one whose eyesight isn't as good, and so on, who gets back together for one last job. So that was the Mercenary series. And after Shannon's Trial, I moved back to the Mercenary series and wrote a 5th book to end the series there. And so that's waiting in production.
Yeah.
And that's going to be called The Ivory War. And it has the same 5 mercenary characters in it and is set in a game reserve in South Africa. So all very different to the Shannon books. So
Yeah.
So that one is ready to go into production. And also, I have started a new series about a female private investigator called Casey Jones. And that wasn't too difficult to write as a female because of working on Mary Quant and Outdoor Girl and Lovable Bras. So I already knew what was happening there.
Yeah,
so
that's
just one point in going back to this contract at the major high street bank. There were other frauds that came up there in my 5 years or so. And I warned that bank about the problems of PPI, this payment protection insurance, which became a huge scandal. And I warned that bank 2 years before it all hit the fan. So that was a little show of exactly how, again, I kept getting back into fraud, financial management, and so on.
Well, that was your expertise, and I guess that has informed a lot of your writing as well, your working life.
Yes, yeah, it is so fascinating, and different frauds run through the Shannon series, according to what the background, the industry was about. And it seems I can't get away from fraud. So, but it's very exciting and very interesting what people can get up to.
Yes,
so
definitely.
You'll find a few frauds in Shannon's Trial, which hopefully will fascinate everybody.
Of course, I think the entire series is so fascinating, and there's so many books. So, to our readers and viewers, if you've started one, get ready to sort of end up reading all of them. So you have Nick Shannon series, and then you have the Johnny Silver, the Mercenary, and you say you have Casey Jones. So you have a lot of books going on.
Yes. So again, Casey Jones is now in production with you.
Yeah.
And I've started researching the next book in that series. So I've actually written the first chapter, but that's as far as I've got. But I would hope that there'll be a couple of books published this year.
Of course. I mean, yeah, we're preparing for the next one, and Johnny Silver and Casey Jones. I just wanted to ask you, you've written so many books, and you've been writing for years. Is there any advice you would give to authors or sort of aspiring writers?
Yeah, I mean, two things really. And one is whatever your genre that you're writing in, there are two books that you really should read. And
Mhm.
one is called The Writer's Journey by
Oh, wow.
Christopher
Yeah.
Vogler. And the other is How to Write a Damn Good Novel by an American called James N. Frey. If once you've read Vogler, you will never look at a TV drama, a movie, or a novel in the same way. And Vogler goes through 12 stages for the novel or movies, and it works on movies such as The Wizard of Oz, Romancing the Stone, Four Weddings and a Funeral. So sort of a whole all across the genres.
Yeah.
So there it will transform how you see movies and books and how you write. So that's one. And then the other is James N. Frey, How to Write a Damn Good Novel, which goes through all the basics like point of view and pace and so on. So that's sort of one general area. And then I think the other piece of advice is try to set yourself, when you start writing, try to treat it more or less as a job. And so set aside, whenever it suits you, set aside a couple of hours in the morning or a couple of hours in the evening, before dinner. But set a routine there, because it is so easy to avoid doing the writing. You'll
Of
be
course.
tempted away from things. When I was writing in the very early days, Victoria, who I mentioned, was very young, and it was easy to say things like, "Oh, well, let's all go down to the beach today," or "Let's all have a picnic," or "I think I might watch cricket."
Mm.
Come on.
So you should have discipline and treat it as a full-time job, and have like a separate space, I suppose, where you won't be distracted. I think that's really
Yeah,
good advice, because writing by yourself, it can, not everybody in your family or in your friend circle can understand what you're doing is like not just a passion project, where it is a job,
yeah,
and it gets harder to say no, but also easier to say no if you treat it as a full-time job. Yeah, that's really good advice. Thank you. And those two book recommendations, I'm gonna check them out for myself, because I love reading books on writing. So that's
yeah.
really good recommendations. Thank you so much. And one last question. What do you which books do you enjoy reading?
Oh, my favourite books are by the late and great Robert B. Parker, who had a hard-nosed PI called Spencer, and he is magnificent for dialogue. And I would recommend reading some of his novels. Start with one called Potshot, and you'll see just how much fun it can be to write dialogue. And he has a lovely dash of humour in it. Let me read you just a little
Okay.
example. Okay. So this is an example of the way he introduces humour into the book. And so this is an example. To the left of the entrance was a reception desk, and behind it was a pleasant, efficient-looking woman with silvery hair and a young face. Her looks were deceptive. She was as efficient as a Russian farm collective, although probably more pleasant. It took 20 minutes to register and 10 more to find a room key. By the time she found it, I had folded my arms on the counter and put my head down on them. She was not amused. "Please, sir," she said, "I'm doing my best." "Isn't that discouraging?" I said. And the dash of humour runs right through there. So, I mean, I think I've mentioned that Robert Bean Parker took over from Raymond Chandler, who had Philip Marlowe as his hard-nosed American PI. And he wrote a good quote, which is, "Down these mean streets, a man must walk, neither mean nor tarnished or afraid." And that became a kind of blueprint for Shannon.
Wow. Okay, that's so interesting to know. Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. This has been fascinating. And we're going to put all the links for all of Paul's series under the channel in the description, and our readers can check out the book, especially the latest in the Nick Shannon series. Thank you again, Paul, for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.